up, guys? Welcome back to another video, and we are back again inside the studio for another video. Unfortunately, it's ridiculously cold out right now, and it's nighttime. It's like 8:30 when I'm filming this, so I wasn't able to go outside and film this video. Plus, with the truck not being here, I really just didn't want to film outside. So today's video is something you guys wanted to see. I got it on a comment on one of my last videos, and this was actually a video I had originally done but decided not to upload. So today's video is on the 2020 GT500, and do I think it's going to be a flop or a success? So in case you're new to the idea of the 2020 GT500, if you've never heard of it before, it's pretty much the ultimate S550 Mustang for Ford to build. It's the most leak power right now, at least according to leaks that I've seen. I don't know if these are credible, so take this with a grain of salt, is around 725 horsepower or so. So definitely a step ahead of the 350's 500 something. It is a supercharged 5.2 motor. They took the flat plane out and replaced it with a cross plane, which is interesting. I thought for sure they'd stick with the flat plane, especially since it is a 5.2. And it is, of course, based off the Coyote and Voodoo engine families. The car is most well known for its use of one specific transmission, and it has not been revealed to have an alternative, which is I believe it was a 7-speed DCT. So auto only for the first time in the GT5. I believe this is the first GT500 to have an automatic option ever. I think every GT500 has always been stick. So obviously a lot of controversy was raised when that came about, that the car was a manual transmission. It was not a manual transmission only car. It doesn't even have the option of a manual at this time. A lot of people are very upset about that, including myself a little bit. I thought for sure they'd stick a manual in it because that is just tradition of GT500s. Unfortunately, they haven't. The car looks fantastic. It looks mean, aggressive. It's probably one of the best looking S550s I've seen. I think a set of Euro tails on it will look amazing. So here's what I think. Do I think the car is going to be a success? I think as far as being sold goes, a monetary success, I believe so. I think Ford is going to sell a lot of these cars because people are going to be like, oh, it's the new GT500. It's the fastest thing. It's the fastest Ford ever built. It beats the GT, for crying out loud. Of course, yeah, people are going to buy it because they're going to be getting a 700 horsepower car for probably sub 100 grand. At least I'm assuming it's going to be sub 100 grand. Who knows? With the Corvette ZR1 being over 150 right now, there's no telling whether the GT500 will follow in its footsteps and also be a 100 plus grand car. I doubt it, but I'm shooting it's probably going to be in the 70s to 80s. Just like the Challengers and stuff like that are the 6.2 cars. So money, like from a business standpoint, I think it's going to sell fine. I don't see any sort of problems with it being sold. It's probably going to convey to a bit bigger of a market now because it is automatic only. So people are going to be like, oh, well, I can't drive stick yet. Those, the majority of the car population that can't drive stick, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, this is an accessible car for me. And they'll go ahead and buy the GT500 because they're like, well, this is a fast car that I can, like, people who have the kind of money for it. Oh, it's a fast car I can afford. I can't drive stick, so it worked perfectly. I think possibly the 350 is going to fall in value because of this. So if you're wanting a 350, you better get ready and hope you have some money saved up. You might be able to scoop one for a little bit cheaper now with the 500 coming out. I don't know how it's going to work, but that's just in theory what's going to happen with the 350 once the 500 hits the shelves, or hits the showroom floors. I'm thinking video games right now. But what about from an enthusiast standpoint? Is the car going to be living up to the hype that we've been waiting for since last year's Detroit Auto Show when they first unveiled the car was coming? I honestly don't think so. I think while people are going to be like, yeah, it's really cool, 700 plus horsepower to the Mustang body, the lack of a manual is a deal breaker to a lot of people. And I follow a lot of Mustang pages on Instagram. A lot of you guys know I'm a Mustang fanboy, and I'm not afraid to admit it. A lot of people are voicing their opinions on how they won't be buying one because it is auto only. YouTubers like It's Just a Six have also already said he's not buying one because it's auto only. And I don't blame him that when I like his car the way it is. His black car is already pretty dang fast. I don't think he needs a 500, but the only big YouTubers that I've seen that have praised the GT500 is Rob Ferretti, who said he's buying one, and Shmi150, who's trying to buy one. And Mustang Lifestyle as well praised the car. So while the auto only sucks, from a business standpoint, it's actually better, because you are going to see a lot more people buying these cars because they're like, oh, well, I couldn't buy older ones because I can't drive stick. But again, from an enthusiast standpoint, it's kind of 50-50. The community is torn on that car right now. I think it's more torn than the Supra, which I'll be doing a video on as well in the future if you guys want to see that one. Everyone just grabs the Supra right now, except for people like me. I like the new Supra, but that's not for this video. But what do I think of the car? I think it's fantastic. While I think the auto only sucks, it's not a deal breaker for me. I think I have enough experience to say I know how to drive stick. I haven't driven a lot of stick, but I've driven enough to say that I know the mechanics, and I've done it, and I've executed it. But it's not, the auto only is not a deal breaker for me. It is very disappointing, and it will slightly deter me, but it's not going to be like, oh, I'm not buying one because it's automatic only. I would totally, in a hot minute, buy one. Like I said, I like the car. It looks fantastic. It sounds great from the videos we've seen of it. And the S550 has always been one of my favorite Mustang bodies. I think I'm torn between the SN95, the new one, the new Edge, and the S550 in terms of my two top 5 favorites. 2 of the top 5s. Of course, we got the Fox. We've got the S197, the 11 to 14 in there in particular as well. So, I mean, I really like the S550, and I think it's the perfect Halo car for it. I do think, though, that Ford should make a manual an option in the near future, because they will get a lot more enthusiasts buying these cars if they offer a stick shift trans in the car. If they stay auto only, you're going to, again, have the people who just want a GT500 just to say they have one, instead of the guys who are out trying to build 1,000 horsepower GT500s. You're going to have some guys, because obviously the DCT is going to work really well for road courses and even drag racing for the most consistent times. But the purists at heart are all going to want manuals, and I think Ford did them a disservice by not even offering it as an option. I think if they at least offered it as an option, that'd be one thing. People probably wouldn't be so upset about it. They're like, oh, it sucks they have an automatic option, but the manual's still there. But obviously that's not the case, and I think Ford really screwed up on that one. That's like the only thing I can really say bad about the car, minus the lack of a flat plane, which is what, you know, the GT500 was well known for. Revving to 8250. This car can't rev, like, I think it's like 75 or something like that. It stops at. I have to go back and watch the video again. But the car, like I said, just looks great, and I really have no complaints there on the car, besides the auto only. But like I said, just to wrap everything up, from a business standpoint, they're doing a good job here. I think the car is going to sell fine. I don't see it flopping at all. From a business standpoint, at least. From an enthusiast standpoint, I do think that the 1314 is still going to be everyone's favorite, because in all reality, the 1314 GT500, while it didn't have the S550's body, it didn't have the S550 interior, which is admittedly the best in Mustang interior ever, it did have the stick shift, and it produced not even 100 less horsepower. So, I mean, they're starting to get a little bit cheaper, and even the 5.4 cars, the 07 to 10s, they're getting pretty dang cheap now. One of my local dealerships has one for 22. No, it's not 22, 26. And then they were talking about they sell it for 32, which is where I got the 22 from. But anyway, I mean, really, when it comes to GT500s, you have a lot of options right now. If you have a ton of money to spare, if you're looking specifically for a manual car, obviously the 13 to 14 would be your better option. But if you're determined to get an S550 that makes a ton of horsepower from the factory, you can always look at the Roush options, such as the jackhammer and the saline options and all that stuff. I personally, if you're a manual purist, I'd look into those first. But I'm not saying the 500 is bad. I'm saying that for those purists, that they have other options which produce just as much power for probably less money. But anyway, the GT500 I feel is not going to be a flop. I think it's going to be a success. I just feel like that the auto only is going to be a huge deterrent for a lot of people. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I also uploaded on my second channel on Tuesday. This is about an hour before I uploaded the transmission video. It's on RT2, which is the, obviously, Roast Tires 2. I'll be leaving, the link is for that channel is in the description. It's always been there, but it was under a different name until now. But if you want to keep on track with all my gaming stuff that I used to do, like just like for example, I should have brought it in here with me, but I did a case swap on a Game Boy Advance. So if you guys want to check that out, that video should be live today as well. So be sure to go check that out. And anyway, guys, hope you all enjoyed. New videos coming out soon. Hopefully the truck will be back in about a week or two, and we can get back to shooting it. And I'll catch you guys later.